Mustangs, tonight we're going over the notes for writing equations of lines. You can write linear equations giving 4 different things: the slope and the y-intercept, a point and a slope, 2 points, and then finally a graph. We're going to work through an example of each one. Let's start with slope and y-intercept. So to write an equation of a line, first we need to write down that equation form that we're looking for, slope-intercept form. And so we want to write our equation in the form y equals mx plus b. Now remember, we already discussed this earlier this week, and our slope is known as our m, and our y-intercept is our b. So when we're given the slope and the y-intercept, all we have to do is put in our slope number for m and then put in our y-intercept value for b. So in this situation, our equation would be y equals 1/3 times x, and then we have a minus 5 as our y-intercept. So instead of a plus b, we're actually going to put minus the 5. And there's our equation of our line. Now let's look at a point and a slope. When we have a point and a slope, we're going to make a small table of values. So we're going to have our x, y table that looks just like our finite differences. We're going to put in our value here for x and y from our point. So -1 goes in x and 3 goes in y. Remember, back from our finite differences and table building unit, the process column was mx plus b, which is the form we want our equation in. And remember, our slope is our m. So we're going to put this slope of 4 in for m. We're going to put our -1 in for our x, just like we did for tables. And then we're going to find what value do I need to add or subtract to this value to get 3. So 4 times -1 is -4. And then I need to get to 3. So how would I do that? I would add 7. So now we can write it in our general form like we did on our finite difference with the actual x. So we would have 4 times x plus 7. We're going to write our rule as our equation, y equals 4x plus 7. Now let's look at 2 points. For 2 points, we're actually going to do another finite difference table. So x and y, and our process column is again mx plus b. Now we're going to put in our x values on our x column, so -4 and 8. And we're going to put our y value that goes with -4, which is -7. And our y value that goes with 8, which is -13. Now we're going to find our differences on the left and the right. So how do we get from -7 to -13? We subtract 6. And how do we get from -4 to a positive 8? We add 12. Now if you remember from finite differences, we do the delta y over the delta x. So our delta y is -6. Our delta x is 12, and if we were to do that in our calculator, -6 divided by 12 is going to give us -1/2. So that goes in for our slope, or our m. So we're going to put in -1/2. Then in our x's, we're going to put in our x values there. And we need to, again, find what do we add or subtract to get to our value. So let's look at our calculator here. And we're going to say -1/2 times -4, and that gives us 2. How would we get from 2 to -7? We would subtract 9. I'm sorry, there's a mistake here. This one should be an 8. Now let's look at our next one. -1/2 times 8. That's -4. And how do we get from -4 to -13? Where we think it's subtract 9, and it is, so it works. Alright, so now let's write our general statement, and which would be -1/2 x minus 9, and so our equation is -1/2 x minus 9. And now let's look at our graph. On our graph, it may be a little difficult for you to see, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight that this is our y-axis here, and this is our x-axis here. Okay, and so we are going to find our equation of our line based on what we've learned about graphing lines. So the first thing we're going to do is remember that our slope is equal to the rise value over the run. So I have two dots here, 2 points that we're going to do. So I'm going to do my rise. So I go up 1, 2. So I want to put that in rise, and then I run once. So that is reducing to a slope of 2. Now I look for my b value. Remember, the b is the same as our y-intercept. So it's where is our graph crossing the y-axis. So it's crossing here. And so if I look, that's up 1, 2, 3. So I have a y-intercept of 3. Now all we have to do is take our y equals mx plus b equation and sub in our 2 for our m and our 3 for our b. So our equation is y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, Mustangs, now you have 4 different ways to find and write the equation of a line based on 4 different scenarios that you could be given. Make sure you go down now and finish your video summary. We'll see you in class tomorrow. Have a great night.